When's the first time you realized America really messed you up? As an American living abroad or traveling abroad, I believe is the question.
Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. This one's gonna be we're gonna be doing Americans living abroad. First time you realized America really messed you up. I've been getting this one requested quite a bit. I've seen some other people doing some reactions to it as well. So I'm like, you know what? I should probably check this out. And it's pretty damn relevant to my channel. So I'm an American and I'm starting to realize that America really messed me up. The more I learn about the world, the more I learn about the Netherlands, Europe, Germany, Belgium, Denmark, and all that. So anyways, the links to the original video will be in the description section down below. As always, hit like, hit subscribe while you're down there. Go to the original channel, hit like on theirs as well. It's like a TikTok compilation, it looks like. So we're going to get into it and check it out and see what this is all about.
What is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up?
Okay, I have type 1 diabetes and I lived in Costa Rica. The very first day that I was there, my insulin pump stopped working. This was like some weird fluke, unrelated to anything else. But I didn't have a doctor yet or really know where to go, so I went to a pharmacy because I needed to get long-acting insulin so I could still treat my disease. And when I went to the pharmacy, the insulin was $20 for a vial.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, and that's one thing that I do hear about a lot from people from from other countries and stuff. They're always talking about how, like here, it's hundreds of dollars for certain things, but then in another country, it's like she said, $20. So very interesting.
In the United States, I pay $322 for that same vial.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I also want to add that I got the insulin over the counter without a prescription.
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to say, over the counter. You have to, if it was here and her insulin thing broke, didn't have a doctor, like she said, she would have had to go get, she would have had to call, set up an appointment, make a doctor, make the doctor's appointment, wait however many days for that appointment, and then go to the appointment, then get the prescription for it, and then go, and then pay the $322 after all of that. So big difference here.
In the United States, I have to see my endocrinologist 4 times a year to get a prescription for a medication that keeps me alive.
Yeah.
American currently living abroad, what is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up?
So I am an American living in Paris. I studied in both a French university and an American university. Due to my American university, I'll be paying off my student loans until I'm 50, maybe even 60.
Yeah.
Whereas for my French degree, nothing, nada, because it was free. Free 99, F-R-E-E, gratis, gratuit.
Free 99. I like that. Free 99. Nice.
Well, not completely free, but still free.
American currently living abroad, what is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up?
I was living abroad in the UK and I had a job interview. And of course, growing up in the US, you're conditioned to dress so professional, be prepared, have your resume, and all these things. So I was like that really much. And I remember walking into the interview and they were like, "Oh, well, you look really snazzy." And I was like, okay, that first of all, never heard that before in an interview. Then secondly, they didn't even ask me anything besides, "Hey, Kyle, would you like a cup of tea?" And I was like, okay. Never was asked that before ever in any other job interviews. We had a tea and we literally sat and talked about all sorts of stuff, personal life, their life, and we just had a laugh for 45 minutes.
Nice.
And right afterwards they're like, "You're perfect for the job. You fit great." And it was really crazy to me, and it was a really fun experience. I wish the US would just chill out sometimes a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
American currently living abroad.
Yeah, I agree there, because here it's all qualifications, this and that, short, straight to the point. You feel like you're in a principal's office at school, like you're getting in trouble or something. And no, over there they just want to hang out with you and chill and see what your personality's about. That's cool. I like that.
American currently living abroad, what is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up?
I'm going to keep this really short and sweet. When I knew America messed me up was when I was living in Canada and they gave me 12 months paid to hang out with my kid.
Jeez. 12 months paid maternity leave. That is not something you see here. You get 6 weeks unpaid. And that's just for the female, not the man.
Oh, and then, just in case, you could take 18 months. And they'll still pay for it.
Jeez.
And your employer has to give you your job back.
18 months.
I can't be real. But it is.
If
Wow.
you're an American currently living abroad, what is
Wow.
one time that made you realize that America really
Was when I moved back to America. I lived in Japan for 15 years. The first day I was in Japan, the first train I ever rode on, I saw people wearing masks. And I asked my then fiance, oh my gosh, is there some kind of like epidemic? And she said, no, this is just what we do during cold and flu season. People wear masks to protect themselves. I was like, oh, for 15 years, I could buy masks at the convenience store, the grocery store. I always had a box on the shelf by my front door. So if I was not feeling very well, I'd grab a mask on my way to work. No big deal. So when I came home and the pandemic started, I thought, finally, all Americans will get the importance of masks. Surely they won't politicize that.
Yeah, guy, you were wrong. You were wrong about that. You should have stayed in Japan. I'm sorry.
I was wrong.
You were wrong.
American currently living abroad, what is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up?
9 months before I moved to Ireland, I was there on a vacation, and the person I was with, we had a car. And we stayed at a golf resort, kind of in the middle of nowhere because it was the off season, so it was actually really affordable. There was a gated front entrance to this golf resort, and there was a small little village on the other side of it. And because we were pretty far back on the property, and it was January, so the weather was kind of crappy, we often would drive if we needed to run to the store for anything or to a restaurant. We became friends with the front gate attendant because we were in and out all the time. So one day we're driving to go to dinner, and I had asked him, hey, what's the legal limit for like drinking and driving here? I wasn't planning to do anything stupid, but I'm also a public health major, and knowing that Ireland is known for its drinking culture, I was curious, so I thought I'd ask.
Is it 18? Am I right about that? Or is it 16? I think some countries are like 16 you can drink in your home or whatever, but you have to be 18 to like go buy it and drink in public, I think. I wonder if that's how this is.
The guy looked at me completely dumbfounded. He's like, what? So I clarified the amount of alcohol you can have in your system and still legally drive. And he says, none?
What is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up?
When my grandfather was dying, we went to Scotland to go and see, him for one last time. And at one point, my grandfather had a prescription that needed picking up. So I pop out of the car, run into the pharmacy, and I've got my purse on me. I don't have very much money with me. I just didn't. And I went in and I'm just like, okay, I'm here to pick up for my grandfather. This is his name. And like, I've got my passport out ready to hand it to them, like to prove that I'm who I say I am. And they're like, oh yeah. How's John doing? Here you go. Here's his stuff. Hey, let him know that if he ever needs help with this, you can just call us. We'll send it on down to him. I said, thank you. And then I stood there and they're like, why are you still here? I was like, but I need to pay. And they're like, no, you don't. He's old. Everything's free. I never felt more uncomfortable leaving a building than I did in that day. Just, it was awful.
Yeah.
If you're an
Yeah, that's different. It's different than here.
American currently living abroad, what is one time that made you realize that America really...
So I've been living in Italy for about 11 years now, 12 years. And I moved here to be with my husband. And
Italy, nice.
In the U.S., I got my tubes tied after my third child and decided I didn't want any more, but he didn't have any, so we decided to do IVF, and I got pregnant with twins. At 13 weeks, I lost one, and once I lost that child, they considered me a high-risk pregnancy and took me off work from that moment on until 3 months after she was born, and I was paid 100% of my check.
That's crazy.
100% of my check.
That's crazy.
And then until she was 1, I got to come home 2 hours a day to breastfeed her. 100% paid.
Wow.
What is one time that made you...
Yeah, that's not something you see. In fact, here in America, you'd probably get fired. Like, you wouldn't get paid. A lot of times what they do is like, you get the 6 weeks maternity leave, but a lot of times somehow they just find a way to like push you out a lot of times. Or if you do go back, like I said, you just had 6 weeks unpaid, but I don't even know, guys.
you realize that America really messed you up?
Oh, I was in Grenada for a couple of weeks,
Grenada,
and
huh?
every single day between 12 and 2, they would always close down. Everything would just close down. And I was just like, what is going on? And they were like, well, we need to go home and have lunch with our family, you know, just enjoy, just relax a little bit. And that was when I realized every other country out here really understands the value of spending time with your loved ones and just actually taking a break, except America. America just teaches us to work, work, work for labor instead of actually living. So don't procrastinate on your happiness, sis. Your worth is not in labor.
And I keep seeing that literally unanimously across the board. Like, no matter what country they're referencing, it just seems different everywhere than here. It's crazy. But yet America is supposed to be like, you know, the land of the free and all this stuff, and everybody from other countries and everything and all this, you know. It's not what it's chalked up to be, guys.
It's a luxury. Do what you want to do and be happy.
What is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up?
So when we first got here, we had to go straight into quarantine. You know, 2 weeks, no big deal. We thought everything was taken care of. Well, we got a letter from the electric company while we were in quarantine. Couldn't understand it. It was all in German. We tried to translate it. Google Translate wasn't really doing anything for us. We couldn't understand it. So we were like, we'll just go in person, you know, once the 2 weeks are over. Well, on the last day of quarantine, our power gets shut off. And we're like, what the fuck? Like, why? So we finally, after a few hours, get a hold of somebody who can speak English. And they laugh at us. And they were like, are you American? And we were like, yeah. And they were like, yeah, we don't shut your power off just because you don't pay. You have to go through a whole system before we shut your power off.
Yeah, no, they do that here. We paid our bill, or we forgot to pay our bill, you know, a couple months back, and didn't pay it on time. Had the money, you know, just spaced it. We're busy. No, next thing you know, they shut our power off. Same thing, you know, they'll do with the water. So it was like overnight or something, we didn't have any power. Paid it the next day and got it turned back on. But see, that's the thing. Now it costs more because now you have to pay for the shutoff fee, and then you got to pay for like the reinstatement fee, and then you got to pay for like the whole thing. You know, so it's like a whole entire thing. Same with the water. You got a disconnect fee, and then you got a reconnect fee on top of the regular bill. So it's just like their way of getting extra money and ripping people off. It's crazy. Wow. So yeah, I wish it was like that here, because it's middle of winter. They don't care. You'll freeze. There's nothing you can do about it. It's crazy.
I've never been so embarrassed because we really were like, we'll pay anything, like please turn our power back on. And they were like, yeah, we don't shut power off here. It's good to know.
American currently living abroad, what is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up?
All right, so when I lived in France, I went to a cafe with my friend, and outside the cafe there were a whole bunch of baby strollers with human babies inside of the strollers.
I guess they do this in the Scandinavian countries, Sweden, Norway, places like that. Denmark, perhaps.
And I was super freaked out, and I asked my friend, why would anybody leave their babies outside unattended in their strollers? Aren't you afraid of something happening to them? And my friend looked at me and said, why would you assume that anything would happen to a baby? Who would be so horrible to do something to a baby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, is there's a lot of evil people here, and you certainly cannot do that here in America. First of all, you would go to jail. They would just simply lock you up. But there's the risk that one of those evil people would come around and just do something terrible. Sad.
You're an American currently living abroad. What is one time that made you realize that America really messed?
So I don't currently live abroad, but I did live in Japan from September of 2019 to March of 2020, and the amount of things I realized while living abroad is astronomical. So I live in New York, and this varies state to state, but generally the average cost for an individual for health insurance is about $500. If you have a family, your family plan is going to cost you about $1,000 a month. In Japan, I paid $23 a month for health insurance that covered everything. And don't even get me started on the American food industry, because it's disgusting. Not only could I feed myself for 2 weeks on $50.
That'll cover about a meal here, maybe 2 meals in one day. Wow.
But food regulations in Japan are so strict. I ate the exact same way I would in America, and I still lost 40 pounds.
Yeah, the food here is so full of garbage. It's not healthy.
40 pounds.
Me an item you bought that you were greatly disappointed in due to poor product description or...
All right, so was that? What? Sorry, somebody's trying to call me a messenger. That's not the end of the video.
false advertising.
I bought a banana duck. I got it off of Facebook Marketplace. And these were...
Oh, no, this is previous videos. All right, yeah, guys, so that was it. My time was when I started doing these videos, and I started realizing how much the other countries are better, what the opportunities are, and how close we are to a third world country here. Just finding out about the medicine costs here versus other countries, finding out about just the electric and stuff not being able to get shut off just like that, you know, in these other countries. That's a big one for me, you know. So yeah, if you guys like this stuff, please hit like, hit subscribe. It really just helps the channel grow.
And I'm looking around for the shooter, and then I realize I'm in Thailand and people don't have guns and they don't shoot children at their school. It was a balloon. A balloon popped. Fuck you, America.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be doing a video right here, another TikTok reacts video. And this one is First Time You Realized America Messed You Up, Part 1. I did do one of these. It wasn't by this TikTok reacts channel. And I just went back to actually check it out to you know, because I clicked the link that I had in the original video, the one that I reacted to, and that original video isn't even up anymore. So I was going to try to go to that channel and see if they had any more, but they don't. So now we're going to go ahead and do this one, which is Part 1, but it's technically the second one that I've done. It was just a different compilation made up by, you know, a different channel. And anyways, the links to the original video will be in the description section down below, so I encourage you to go check it out. And we're going to go ahead and get into it. I love these videos. They're very funny. Let's do it.
If you're an American currently living abroad, what is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up?
Literally early this morning, I dragged my ass to the embassy, which is an hour away from where I'm living in the Netherlands. I get into the embassy, I do my thing, I go up to the window, and I'm getting my passport name changed. I need a new passport so that I can leave, go back to the States to see my family, and come back into the country here. And I've been waiting for this meeting for over a month. I give the woman all of my stuff, and she's like, okay, great, where are the stamps? And I had printed out a checklist from the embassy website, and there were no stamps on this checklist. But apparently I needed to bring a couple of stamps so that way I could pay for the postage for the government to send me my passport, which I already have to pay for. And I already have to pay taxes in America, but I obviously don't see any of the benefit because I'm not living in the country. Why can't you just pay for my stamps? So now I have to wait 3 more months for another appointment to get.
I've heard of that, actually, that if you live in another country, you still have to pay taxes here in America. Like that. How greedy is that? And they don't even do anything good for the infrastructure. Like the infrastructure's crumbling. Like we're on a borderline of being a third world country. And you can't even buy the lady stamps. Like she's got to buy stamps for it. She's not even like...
to get my passport.
That's crazy.
So I'm moving to Portugal and I have somebody that's helping me with the visa process over there. And she's asking me questions about my income. And I say, yeah, I have a full-time job and I also run 2 businesses. Okay. And she's like, that's a lot. And I said, yeah, you know, I do work about, you know, anywhere from 80 to 110 hours a week. But, you know, what's necessary right now. I need to take care of my son. I need to manage all these different things. And I need to be able to afford, you know, a pretty good life. And America. She said, well, don't you make over what the minimum is required here in Portugal? And I said, yeah, no, I definitely do, but I need to be able to take care of all those other things. And she's like, how do you have time for your son? I'm like, well, it's not the amount of time that I'd like, but that's what's necessary. And it just was really clear to me, like with the confusion, that they actually have work-life balance and you just don't work yourself to death. You can actually enjoy your life.
Yeah, that is one thing that I've seen in a lot of these reaction videos, that they actually do have great work-life balance over in Europe. And you get a ton more vacation time, holiday time, I guess you guys call it. And You know, it's like over here, you got to work at a place for like a lot of times 90 days, maybe 6 months, some places even a year before you even are eligible for vacation time. And then you normally just get like a week. Some places will give you 2 weeks, right? Well, when you actually want to go use that vacation time, they almost act like like you're breaking their arm just trying to get it. Like you're a bad person because you want to use your vacation time. Whereas over in Europe, they'll actually sit there and tell you like, hey, you need to use this vacation time. Like they encourage you to use it, and you get it right away over there. You don't have to wait like a year, and normally it's longer than a week or two or whatever you get here.
Hi. So I've been living in Spain
Hello.
for about 11 years, and this happened like 11 years ago. It was my first time going to the emergency room, and when, stomach problems, whatever, couldn't stop throwing up. And I go in, give the girl at the front desk my ID and my debit card. And she takes my ID, checks me in, hands both cards back to me. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I give the debit card, I pay at the end. So I go in, everything, give me medicine, and I go back out. I stop at the front desk again, and I was like, hi, I'm leaving. Here's my debit card. And she just looks at me and she's like, I don't know why you keep giving this to me. You don't need to give me your debit card. I don't get it. And I'm like, oh, you don't have to pay for health services, even in a private hospital.
Oh yeah, here here you'll get about $1,000 bill for a 10-minute hospital stay. It seems like it's just insanity. There's so many people that owe medical bills. It's crazy.
Okay, I have another one. When I was studying in Spain, we had our orientation the first week of classes, and our program director sat us all down and had to explain our health insurance to us and how it worked. And basically it worked that you paid like €1,000 for the semester and you got health insurance, like free health insurance for everything, covered everything.
Okay.
And she had to sit us down, and she had this big group of Americans in a room, and she was like, listen, if you are sick, go to the doctor. And we were all like, yes. And she was
People here avoid going to the doctor because it costs so much. It's like, oh, hopefully I'll feel good in a few days.
like, no, like Americans don't go to the doctor. You won't go to the doctor when you're sick. So I have to
Yeah.
tell you every year to do this, and still kids will just put off going to the doctor because you're used to just like pushing through illness. No matter what it is, I don't care if it's a cold, go to the doctor.
Yeah.
But you had to actually like spell that out for us.
Yeah, that is something that's if you don't have health insurance around here, even if you do, like they charge like deductibles and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, so I was living in Thailand and I got into a motorcycle accident because the guy in front of me turned without a blinker. Like he was on a moped and he just kind of turned into the side of me and just knocked us both over. And so my
no.
motorcycle landed on my knee and I couldn't walk, so they needed to call me an ambulance to go to the hospital. But like I was like, I can't afford an ambulance, so the whole
Right.
time that they're like, bring the ambulance is coming and they're like putting me in the ambulance, I was like, how much is this gonna cost? How much does this cost? Like I someone can pick me up, how much does this cost? Because like in the States it could be like $4,000 to get a 15-minute ride to the hospital.
Yeah.
And the guys just laughed at me and they were like trying to figure out the word for it, and they're like, free, it's free. And I was like, huh, well that's different.
Yeah, it is insane how much the ambulances and stuff here cost. Like she said, like it's like probably like around $4,000 for 15 minutes. It's crazy.
I'm a black person living in Japan right now. And yeah, so when you're in America and you're shopping, you're browsing, whatever, sometimes, not all the time, in my own experience, I've never had the experience of being followed around because of my skin color, because I just don't shop that often. And sometimes when I want to go get something, I know exactly what I want. I go in, I buy it, and then I leave. But here in Japan, when you go in and you're browsing for something, the employees are walking around to help you. So they may follow you, but they're not following you because of your skin tone. They're following you because they want to help you. They want to take the initiative and be right there when you need them, when you're ready to pay, if you have questions, whatever the case may be.
That's weird. So he probably thought that they were being racist because he's black. And by the way, he needs to turn his light on. I couldn't even hardly see anything in that room that he was in. Like it was so dark.
Hey, I live in Ireland and I've lived most of my adult life here. I moved to Ireland in 1995.
Oh, wow.
My teenage daughter was born here many years ago, and when she was born, I spent 2 nights in hospital before she was born. I had an emergency cesarean section, and then I spent a further 6 nights afterwards. The total cost to me was zero. I kept asking them, like, are you sure no one wants my credit card? Like, do you want my details so you can send me the bill? And they would just like laugh, like, oh, you're American. There's no bill. So 8 nights in hospital, emergency procedure, zero bill.
That's crazy. And over in Europe, a lot of times you actually get like a lot of like paid maternity leave. Whereas here you get 6 weeks unpaid leave. So like you take the 6 weeks off work, but you ain't getting paid for it. It's just crazy. They just guarantee your job after the 6 weeks, which sometimes they'll figure out a reason to push you out even.
So when I was in high school, I was a lifeguard, and during my lifeguard training, they taught us that before we even administer first aid or CPR, we had to ask for consent to avoid being sued. Now fast forward a couple of years, and I'm in London as a waitress, and my company sends me to go do CPR training.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's true. Here in the United States, you give CPR to somebody, they can sue you. You have to have their consent to do it. And it's like, what do you mean? I'm saving your life. Like, that's insanity.
And while I'm there, they go over the same stuff that I learned in the States, but I notice that they're completely glossing over this one particular area. So I raise my hand and I ask, what are the laws here? Like, how do you avoid being sued if something goes wrong? To which every single person in the room starts laughing at me. Says, oh, you're American, right? Yeah, no one here is going to sue you for trying to save their life.
I don't understand why they do it here. This country is just like everybody wants to sue everybody. Like there's commercials on TV. Like if you have regular TV, I just watch streaming services, mostly YouTube. But if you have regular TV, you're going to see a ton of like ads for lawyers all the time. Lawyers, and medicine. It's just crazy.
Okay, I have type 1 diabetes and I lived in Costa Rica. The very first day that I was there, my insulin pump stopped working. Uh-oh. This was like some weird fluke, unrelated to anything else. But I didn't have a doctor yet or really know where to go. So I went to a pharmacy because I needed to get long-acting insulin so I could still treat my disease. And when I went to the pharmacy, the insulin was $20 for a vial.
Not going to be that cheap here.
In the United States, I pay $322 for that same vial.
Wow.
I also want to add that I got the insulin over the counter without a prescription. In the United States, I have to see my endocrinologist 4 times a year to get a prescription for a medication that keeps me alive.
That's crazy. And the reason why is because then they can charge you all that extra money for the doctor visits.
Here's a fun one. So I'm teaching 3rd grade in Thailand, right? And it's sports day. Kids running around, screaming, having fun, as kids do. And I hear a bang. Instantly, my heart drops into my stomach. My entire body tenses. My adrenaline starts pumping.
You thought it was a school shooting. You don't have that in other countries. It's just not a thing.
And I'm looking around for the shooter. And then I realize I'm in Thailand. And people don't have guns. And they don't shoot children at their school. It was a balloon. A balloon popped. Fuck you, America.
Oh, that's awesome. It was just a balloon.
So I don't live abroad anymore, but for half of 2018, I lived in Germany, and I have so many stories.
I bet.
The town that I lived in had like a main plaza area, and there was a cafe in that plaza. So a couple of my other American friends and I decided to try it out one day, and there was a construction site nearby. We heard a really loud bang, and, we kind of assumed that someone had fired a gun, and so we, ducked for cover, and then we were looking around frantically, trying to find, a place that we could run to or hide to get out of the situation, and then we realized that no one had shot a gun. No, it was a loud bang from the construction site. That's it. That's all it was. We'd been speaking in English, and we all have really obvious American accents, so all the Germans around us gave us these really sad looks, like, oh, these poor, poor Americans.
Yeah, that's... Luckily, we don't have that problem here, necessarily. I mean, there has been, bomb threats, and threats of school shootings in the area that I live in, but not so much. It's normally bigger cities and stuff. So luckily, I don't live in a big city. Although I wish I kind of did, in the sense that there's nothing to do around here, guys.
I've lived abroad for a little over a year, and coming back for the holidays, I have really come to realize that the food in this country is garbage. Since leaving the US,
Yeah.
I have lost about 40 pounds, and I have
bet.
not tried to lose weight. I haven't been conscious that I'm losing weight. It just has naturally fallen off of me because food in other countries is not overprocessed. It's not packed with sugar
Yeah.
and preservatives and all of the things that are in the food here. And since being back, even for the short amount of time that I've been here, I have found it extremely difficult to maintain my weight, even though I'm not overeating. I'm eating basically the same diet I was eating abroad. It's simply the way the food is processed. So moral of the story, try eating organic as much as possible. This food is killing you.
Yeah, the thing with organic though is they charge like 2 or 3 times as much for the price, and a lot of people can't really afford it, you know, so you go for the cheaper option that's been overly processed and chock full of bad chemicals. And I think they want it that way because they make so much money off the healthcare. So they're like, oh, well, if we keep everybody sick and fat, then it'll just be more money coming in, you know, more people getting diabetes, more people, just getting sick in general. But I've heard a lot of stories where people from other countries will come over to America for just like a week or two, just for visiting on holiday or whatever. And they'll end up eating, like she said, the same diet, like the same kind of foods, the same whatever, And even though it's the same food, they'll end up gaining like a ton of weight here, or people coming over here and eating the food and just kind of like getting sick or just feeling ill because of it. Even Americans that's been living abroad, they'll come back to visit. And then as soon as they come back, then all of a sudden it's like their guts like all acting up on them. They're gaining weight. They're feeling sickly, even though they're eating the same amount of food that they would eat in whatever country they moved to. So anyways, that was a fun video. I'm going to probably do more of these. We're going to continue that journey. This one is going to be, again, by the channel TikTok Reacts. And you can find a link to the original video down in that comment section. Hit like while you're down there. And we're going to see some more people realizing that America messed them up.
If you're an American currently living abroad, what is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up?
When I was dancing in Australia, I did a jump and landed on the outside of my right foot. I sprained it real bad. And they drove me to a private hospital and I was like panicking. But anyway, that's the one that was available to me at the time. And on my way into the lobby, I was, hobbling on my crutches. And they spotted me from the parking lot. The doctor came out to me before I even was in the building.
Wow, you don't get that kind of service here. Half the time you could be already inside the building, hobbling, you get up to the front desk and they'll just be like rudely, how can I help you? As though they don't already see what the problem is.
And went back into the hospital and told them that I was coming. In the waiting room, they came into the waiting room to examine my foot.
Wow.
And I never paid a penny for that shit.
Yeah, here in America, you wait around for about an hour. You finally go back to your room. You wait another half an hour. Then the nurse comes in, asks you a few questions, says the doctor will be right with you. And then it seems like you wait another hour before the doctor actually gets in there. And then they charge you $1,000.
So I can make like 200 of these, but I'll just talk about the first time I realized how fucked up the US is, which was in the first week that I got to Sweden, when my boyfriend's family told me that I need to make sure I get insured, and that I get insurance for everything I own, my laptop, my bike, my apartment, my whole body. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's so expensive. Like I'm already super in debt with student loans, so no. But I asked out of curiosity just like how much it was going to cost. $100 a year to insure everything I have.
What?
For reference, like the average American person spends $456 a month.
Yeah.
Just on health insurance. Just for healthcare.
Wow.
That doesn't include cars or home insurance. So
$100 a year? That's great. And actually, speaking of that, I got to get home insurance here soon. When we bought the place back in, was it end of April, beginning of May sometime? The property taxes were paid up for the year, and the home insurance was covered for the year. But we have until this spring actually to buy some home insurance. I'm not looking forward to it. I don't think it's going to be cheap. So watch more of my videos, guys, so I can afford it. That'd be awesome. Thank you. And I got to pay property taxes, I guess, this spring and then in the fall. But it's not going to be that cheap at all. It's going to be probably a couple $100 a month just for home insurance, I would assume.
Okay, so I'm not currently living abroad, but I did live in Australia for a few months. And one night while I was there, I got a little bit too crazy and I ended up on public transportation without a phone. And I had to find my way back to my apartment and I got lost.
Oh,
And
no.
while I got off the tram to get onto a different tram to take me home, a middle-aged gentleman came up to me and I immediately went into attack mode and I was like going to kill him. And he was like, no, I was just going to tell you which tram to take to get back to Preston. And that was when I realized that in Australia, I didn't need to be afraid. Like, granted, take precautions, but I didn't need to be afraid of every man. But in America, I still am.
Yeah, I would say more so in big cities. That's a big problem that they have. Not so much around where I live, rural Indiana, but yeah, in big cities you hear a lot of stories that might not have went so good for her.
Ooh, I've been waiting for this one. So at the time, I was living in Germany and I had gotten food poisoning after traveling back from a country. And I was so sick, I was not eating, not taking anything, and it had been 4 or 5 days. It was
Said after traveling back from the country. So she was living in Germany. So did she go to America and then get food poisoning and get it on the way back?
really bad. I was too afraid to go to the hospital, one, because I was afraid I couldn't translate, but two, I just didn't want to deal with everything. But my friend said, no, we have to go. So I went. Tell me why we didn't have to wait on an emergency line. I was in the emergency room looking around. I was like, where do I sign in? Where's the line? Where are all the people? And they're like, no, you can go right in and go sit down. We'll be right with you. And I literally walked straight into the office, straight in. And while I was struggling to explain what was going on, they brought in 5 different doctors of each different one. And it only took them 5 minutes to come each time. When they realized they couldn't help me, it was somebody else they needed. And I didn't have to pay anything on top of that.
Yeah, that's certainly not something going back to what I was saying earlier. That's quick service. And it actually seems like the doctors care. Over here, it's like the doctors are grumpy. They don't seem like they just don't seem like they care, and they certainly don't care about your time, because just a simple visit to the ER, it could take up to 3 or 4 hours. Even though they only talk to you for maybe 10 minutes out of the whole time. Most of it, you're just waiting there.
I'm an American living abroad in Thailand. We've been living here for a year now. So we literally moved here when the pandemic started. My husband had a business trip right before the country closed to Singapore. He came back from Singapore with a fever. So they transported him to a hospital. That hospital, however, didn't have the facilities for full-on quarantine, and so they transported him using an ambulance to another hospital where he was COVID tested and quarantined. Luckily, he tested negative, but he still spent 2 days in the hospital and was transported by ambulance. And so I was thinking the cost was going to be so expensive. The overall cost of it was less than $300, where back in the States, I know it would have been thousands. It's just incredible to me that healthcare is affordable.
The ambulance ride alone would be about $4,000 here. It's craziness.
So I'm from LA and I moved to Singapore. And before coming here, I asked all my friends if I should bring anything a pepper spray just in case anything happens. And they were like, no, that's actually illegal. I don't think that they're allowed to have any kind of weapon. And I was like, what? We literally put them in our keychains as accessories. I was like, how do you defend yourself? They were like, from what? You don't have to. It's so safe. I was like, no way. So I Googled it, and no one is allowed to use greater force than necessary to defend themselves. What? Wow. The U.S. can't ban guns, but Singapore can ban pepper sprays?
That's interesting because, yeah, there's a lot of women here that carry pepper spray for self-defense reasons.
So I didn't realize this until I moved abroad, but Americans have a very strange concept of freedom. Like, when you're growing up, you're always told that America is such an amazing place, and, you know, it's the land of the free, home of the brave, but,
not so much.
like, I keep hearing these criticisms from people like, oh, yeah, but America has the most freedom. Wow, yeah, freedom.
We really don't.
I mean, there may be a few exceptions or nuances, but in the UK, you're still free. Like, that is the biggest lie that Americans are ever told, that there aren't other free places. Like, I don't understand. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I feel like the concept is kind of destroying American democracy. How ironic. Like, they need to kind of understand that they need to work on things to make themselves better and more free for their citizens.
Especially if you're going to sit here and just push it down everybody's throats that we're like, you know, the freest country in the world, because they do. That's what they teach you. You know, America is just so free. And, you know, and then another thing that gets me is you got the military that goes to another country to start a war to steal oil. When they get back, they're supposed to be seen as a national hero. You're supposed to like act like they're on God tier, you know, and everybody sees them in the store. You know, if you see a military person in the store and stuff. And they're like, oh, well, thank you for fighting for us. Thank you for serving for our freedom. Now, if there's an American military serviceman watching me, I do respect what you guys do. I'm not talking bad about you. But in general, it just seems like that's the case. Like they're held up on this God tier level and everybody's like, oh, thank you for our freedom. What freedom did they give us? They went to another country to steal oil. Like I mean, 9/11 was an inside job. Come on, guys. Not trying to get into conspiracy theories, but yeah.
So just for a little context, I live in Latvia now, but when this happened to me, I was working in the UK as a bartender. And my coworkers and I were talking about gun violence in the US, and they were kind of making jokes like, oh, I'm surprised you graduated and you didn't get shot first and stuff like that. And I guess I was trying to defend it. So I was saying, it's not as bad as the news makes it seem. I only know one school that had an active shooter and had to go into lockdown. And, for me, I only had one gun threat in high school, and it was just a threat, and one when I was in elementary school. And then my coworkers kind of looked at me like, you what? And you think that's normal? And I was like, yeah, it's not even that bad.
Oh,
Yeah, that's, and the funny thing is though, in other countries, like even though just a couple threats, a couple situations to them is like, whoa, that is insane. That is way too much, cause it is. They have zero over there, zero. Not just one or two or three, but just zero.
In Grenada for a couple of weeks, and every single day between 12 and 2 they would always close down. Everything would just close down, and I was just like, what is going on? And they're like, well, we need to go home and have lunch with our family, just enjoy, just relax a little bit.
Nice.
And that was when I realized every other country out here really understands the value of spending time with your loved ones. And
that's why I do YouTube, because I can stay here, spend time with my family, do my work on the computer here for you guys, my amazing viewers. And, it doesn't get me rich. It's about the same as maybe a minimum wage job, but it's enough. It's enough. I got food in my belly and I got a roof over my head. That's all I need. And by the way, that lady is dressed elaborately. Like that's some high class stuff right there. I like the I don't know what it's called, but the thing on her head, like that looks really cool.
Really understands the value of spending time with your loved ones and just actually taking a break, except America. America just teaches us to work for labor instead of actually living. So
slaves, man. We're slaves here in America.
Your worth is not in labor. It's a luxury. Do what you want to do and be happy.
I do what I want to do and I be happy and I make my viewers happy. And if you're really happy, you'd hit that like button down there, huh? Hit subscribe.
Oh, I've got a couple. So I'm from Los Angeles and now I live in Austria. And basically when I first started working here, they were like, you get 25 days vacation, Fridays off early, and if you're sick, don't come into work. And I was just like, I was floored. Because in the US, you only get 10 days vacation and like 5 sick days, and you don't get Fridays off early. You better.
Yeah, and the 10 days vacation is not when you first start either. You got to get past your probationary period. Usually it's 90 days, 6 months, and sometimes some jobs is like a year. Like you have to work there a full year before you get the vacation time.
Work your ass until it's 9 p.m. On top of all of that, all my friends here have like 2 masters, 3 PhDs, etc., 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 because education here is actually free. Amazing. What an amazing concept.
Yeah.
In addition, I have yet to see a large homeless community out in the open here in Austria because the government actually offers some social support. A lot of social support. In
Not
LA,
like-
you have villages, streets, blocks full of homeless people because our government doesn't care about us.
Google Skid Row, Los Angeles. It's a very sad situation, but the homeless section is called Skid Row, and it is absolutely terrible.
And here, people like don't measure their worth off the car they drive.
Yeah, so yeah, the car thing. Everybody around here, you know, it's all like, oh, well, your car sucks. You must suck. Oh, you got a nice car. You must be great.
Okay, so I live in New York now, but I used to live in England. And one time I was out at this bar with my friends, and these 2 cops walked by. And one of my friends was like, oh, I wonder why there are cops out right now. And I looked at the cops and I got really confused. And I was like, those are cops? And my friends were like, yeah. And I was like, they don't have guns. And everyone was like, why would they have guns? They were like so aghast at that question. And I realized in that moment and learned that guns, there are so few guns in the UK, and it's such not an issue that like the everyday cop does not carry a gun.
That's crazy.
And I was just, there are houses in America that have seen more guns in them than a fresh vegetable. It blew my fucking mind. I think about it all the time. I hate guns so much.
I do too.
I hate guns so much.
That's crazy because yeah, here the cops, man, and if you're going a little fast or like, you know, your headlights out and they have to pull you over, they'll come up to your car with their hand on their gun ready to draw it and shoot you because they don't know if there's some bad guy because there's so many guns and stuff. They don't know if somebody in the car has a gun that they're going to pull on the cops. So they come up. Sometimes they got the gun out of their holster, but most of the time they don't. Most of the time they just have their hand on their gun, but they unclip the holster. That way they can pull it out real quick if they need to.
I was living in Italy and my friend needed an ambulance. We weren't going to get an ambulance because of the cost. And then we learned that in Italy, it's free for ambulances.
That's crazy.
We were literally like, wow, it doesn't have to be thousands of dollars for an ambulance.
I don't understand why they even charge that much. One of the videos I reacted to recently said that the ambulance was like $4,000. Why? It absolutely does not cost that much to operate that vehicle. If you are going to charge somebody, it should be like $30. Like seriously, it's for profit. It's just a take. It's just a take from people.
That is crazy. A human life is in fact more valuable than profit here. It is so sad that we have accepted if you are in a vulnerable health situation, it will cost thousands and thousands of dollars, and many people go into medical debt because of this. Where are our priorities?
Medical debt. I got about $10,000 in medical debt through over the years, and guess what? I'm not gonna pay it. Sorry, but they ain't getting my money for that crap. These videos never cease to amaze me. Drop your comments down below. If you have any experiences similar to this, let everybody know about it. Hit like, hit subscribe.
So they made sure that I literally could not work. Imagine that happening in the US.
It would never happen.
Someone
here.
literally taking your computer and your work phone away and say, go, come back in 3 weeks, enjoy your vacation.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We are going to be doing another First Time You Realized America Really Messed You Up. This one's part 3. These ones are awesome. I love this, these TikTok compilations. And if you love them too, hit like on this video. I'm going to hit like on this one right here. I've already subscribed to the channel. And there will be links to the original video down there in that description section. So go check it out. Hit like on the original video. That would be amazing. And yeah, we're going to get on with part 3. First time you realized America messed you up.
If you're an American currently living abroad, what is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up?
So I'm an American and I live in Norway right now.
Norway.
And one time I was going to help my friend with this project that she had, and this girl was still in high school. And so she was like, yeah, just come to my high school. You can help me out, yada, yada, yada. I was like, great. Where do I have to sign in when I get there? Do I need to wear a visitor's badge? Who do I talk to? What should I tell the front desk lady? She was like, what are you talking about? Just walk in and I'll meet you at my classroom. And my mind was blown. I was like, I can just walk into your school? Like, no, aren't they gonna call the police? Aren't they gonna send out an intruder alert? Like, I can't just walk into your high school and just walk straight to your classroom. No. Then I realized just how messed up it is that American high schoolers are like security prisons.
You know, and it used to be like that. You used to be able, like, long time ago, like when I was in like grade school, you used to be able to just come right on in. And then I got to high school, and I think like the first year, like when I was a freshman, it was the same way. You could just walk right in. But then it was like my sophomore year that they started installing like doors or like security stuff at the doors, like metal detectors, you know, cop that patrols the school, and the door wouldn't unlock for you. You had to hit the intercom button, talk to the office, tell them why you're there, and then they had to buzz you in. That wasn't like that back in the day. But then I think a lot of that changed after 9/11, though. That happened during my freshman year, and then the next year after that is everything started going lockdown status.
This is just from studying abroad in the UK. We were at a public train station and you had to pay to use the bathroom, and I had never seen that before.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, that's like messed up, right? They were like, yeah, but we don't pay for healthcare or college. Stop yelling.
And also, the bathrooms are cleaner over in Europe from what I hear. The ones here, like, they're rancid. If you come to America, try to avoid a public restroom at all costs. They can be pretty rancid sometimes, especially the guy. I've heard the women's restrooms are better. Obviously, I've never been in one, but I heard that they're not as bad. Maybe it's just guys are nasty. I don't know.
So when I was a teenager, I went out of the country one time to go on vacation to the Bahamas, and we were staying at this resort, and shit happened. I caught a virus that was going around the resort, and then I had an allergic reaction to the virus, and I couldn't really breathe.
Ugh, that doesn't sound good. Was this pre-COVID?
But the on-site paramedic had already left for the day, so the hotel concierge took us to the hospital in his van and just told us to call when we were ready to head back. So we go to the hospital, I get treated, and as we're leaving, my mom tries to give them her insurance card, and she's telling them, like, I'm so sorry, we've never been out of the country before, I don't know how to do this. They told her, like, oh no, you just keep that, we don't take insurance here. And the look on my mom's face was terrified, like, oh my God, we're gonna have to sell our house, terrified. This was when they realized we were Americans, and they were like, oh no, don't panic, you must be American. We have universal health care here. You just need to pick up your medicine in the lobby, you're fine.
Jeez.
The medicine was $8, and they gave me a note to give to the airline to get back into my own country.
Yeah, that I've heard from a lot of, like, you know, watching a lot of these videos, it is a very shocking thing. The first time an American encounters free healthcare. Like, we don't take insurance. Like, oh crap, well, how much is this going to cost me? No, you're not in America. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. You don't have to sell your car to afford it.
Okay, I love this question. I actually don't live abroad right now, but I spent basically most of my 20s living abroad, and for 6 of those years I was living in the UK. And
Why'd you move back? Why'd you come back to America? This country sucks.
And in my first, like, professional job, you could say there, this one time I got really sick and I was feeling really unwell, and I was like, I had 5 weeks of leave, and I really had assumed that must have been like my sick and my vacation time, like, in one, because 5 weeks is like so much time relative to American standards.
Yeah.
And I was really sick, and I was like, and then I was like, but honestly, I don't want to use up my sick time. And my boss was like, what are you talking about? Like, if you're sick, like, you're just sick. And I was like, but I only have, like, I don't want to use my time. And she was like, no, like, you're just sick. And I was like, Wait, holy shit, really?
I went to uni in the UK and I still live there, so I've got a ton of these.
Where?
I went to uni in the UK and I still live there, so
Uni?
I've got a ton of
University?
these. Probably the first that comes to mind is when first year I realized I was picking my seats in lectures about where I could be protected in case someone came in and started shooting. And I brought it up with my group of friends, which had Americans, non-Americans, and all my American friends were like, oh yeah, I'm also terrified of someone coming in and taking us out
You're not in America. You don't have to be afraid like that.
in a mass shooting. And of course, none of all of the non-Americans were like, what the f-? Like, never been worried about that. And yeah, they shouldn't be.
Did y'all know that
What is up with everybody's background noise on this one? It's like everybody's either got music playing, which will probably demonetize my video, content or copyright claim, or they have like this abnormally annoying humming sound going on. I don't understand it.
Yeah, they shouldn't be.
Did y'all know that in other countries they can go to the pharmacy and actually get what they need? I live in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia right now, and I went to the pharmacist and I was like, hi, I think I kind of have like a UTI. Like, do you have any pain medicine, any cranberry? And she's like, why don't I just give you antibiotic? And I was like, then I go back and I'm like, hi, I'm going to South Africa next week, like on safari, like any good, mosquito repellent? And she's like, girl, you want anti-malarials?
Anti-malarials?
I get bold with it, right? I go in there, on another occasion and I'm like, I'm back, I'm waiting for my birth control, like, to come from the US. Like, it's taking a while, prescriptions and doctors and all that. And she literally threw the birth control at me.
Jeez.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I don't understand why antibiotics. I don't understand why you have to have a prescription for that. It's not like you can abuse it. Like, there's no value to it beyond it's an antibiotic. Like, it doesn't make any sense that it's prescription based.
So I have a really embarrassing one. It was my first time getting pulled over by a German police officer. When the cop walked to my vehicle, I was like, why'd you pull me over? Geez, I can't get a break anywhere I go. Is it because I'm black? Then the police officer looked at me very calmly and was like, bro, in Germany, we do random traffic stops. Not only that, he also educated me on everything you need in the vehicle for a random traffic stop. After that, he didn't even do the random traffic stop. He just walked away and said, have a nice day. Very respectful. After he left, I just sat there dumbfounded and I was like, wow, in America, I'm so used to getting pulled over for being black for no reason. And it really changed my whole attitude towards police officers out here in Germany.
Wow.
Yeah, so super ignorant moment for me that I definitely learned from.
Random traffic stops. I wonder why they do that. Maybe just to keep everybody safe? I don't know. I guess if you're a weed smoker, that might not be a good thing.
Right then, that's your repeat medication all sorted. Oh, great. Now you're nearly 25, so you should probably come back in soon to get a cervical screening test. Oh, sure. And here's some info about IUDs since you were asking about those.
What is that?
Okay, and what's like a ballpark for how much all of this costs? Like 500, £1,000? It's free.
Yeah, another one. Yeah, there's so many of them. Like, it seems like most of these are related to like the free healthcare because it's just so shocking as an American.
Besides wanting to get under a desk every time I hear like a bang noise.
Yeah, that's people that's in big cities though. Like, I live in rural Indiana. We don't have to worry so much about like the shooting situation, but it definitely is a thing to be worried about in big cities for sure.
I had no idea what that was before I moved to Australia.
What is it?
I hear like a bang noise.
That's just a pitcher, right? Like, put Kool-Aid in it? What?
I had no idea what that was before I moved to Australia.
What is it? Okay, I'm confused, but whatever.
Oh, yeah. I'm an American living in Canada here since 2007.
Canada.
When I went to school, my schools had security guards.
Yeah.
They don't have that in my son's school. My son does not have a security guard.
We did.
Like we like they used to break up fights. We used to have police called, and I mean,
Yeah.
God, they don't have that here, and it's very reassuring that the difference of violence in schools here is uncomparable to the United States. And I wish it was better. I wish it was different for everyone back home.
Yeah. They definitely. I've seen times that they've called cops to schools before to when people fought and everything, but it's just crazy that this is like one of the only countries that's like that. I don't understand what the problem is with with all the school shootings and stuff like that. And also, Canadians are just like known for being super nice. So like that makes complete sense that you wouldn't have as much of that kind of violence up there, and there's no need for guards or police at the schools.
So I spent about 4 years in Berlin, Germany, working in advertising. And coming from New York, where my first 8 years in the industry, I just, you don't take vacation. You just don't really do that. Well, I had to have a sit down with the CEO of my company and the head of HR, where they took my laptop and took my work phone and told me I could not come back to the office for 3 weeks because I had to use my vacation time.
Yeah.
They were afraid that I was going to sue the company for not being allowed to take my vacation time.
That's not like that here. Here it's like you gotta like beg to take your own vacation time. They act like you're like breaking their arm when it's like your vacation time, you're allowed to take it. They don't want to give it to you most of the time. They act like you're doing something wrong, and then you're afraid that when you get back, they're just gonna like look for a dumb reason to fire you. In fact, I've heard that happening before, where they just push people out. Yeah.
So they made sure that I literally could not work. Imagine that happening in the US.
It would never happen.
Someone
here.
literally taking your computer and your work phone away and say, go, come back in 3 weeks, enjoy your vacation. Honestly, Europe has a lot going for it that I wish Americans would understand.
Yeah, I'm actually starting to understand that for sure. Eye-opening experience starting this reaction channel, guys. And thank you guys for watching my channel, because I couldn't do it without you. You guys are amazing. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit that notification bell.
So I've been living in Italy for about 11 years now, 12 years. And I moved here to be with my husband. And in the US, I got my tubes tied after my third child and decided I didn't want any more, but he didn't have any, so we decided to do IVF, and I got pregnant with twins.
Uh-oh.
At 13 weeks, I lost one.
Oh, that's sad.
And once I lost that child, they considered me a high-risk pregnancy and took me off work from that moment on until 3 months after she was born.
Not in America. They'd make you work right through it.
And I was paid 100% of my check.
Yeah, here, after you give birth, like they'll make you work. They'll make you work until you pop, pretty much. You are entitled to 6 weeks maternity leave, but it's unpaid. All that does is guarantees that after you take your 6 weeks, you still have a job when you come back, but you certainly don't get paid for it. And a lot of people don't even take the full 6 weeks because you don't get paid for it and you need money.
100% of my check.
That's crazy.
And then until she was 1, I got to come home 2 hours a day to breastfeed her.
Nice.
100% paid.
Not in America.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Okay, kids, this one's for me. This one is for me. I'm
Thought she was a ghost for a second.
literally about to go to sleep right now, but I saw this and I have to respond right now. So much so that this might become a series. So, part 1.
Okay.
I lived in Galway, Ireland for a year, all of 2020. Yes, all of 2020. I come from the backwoods of Wisconsin, where shooting squirrels off of your trees is a fun afternoon activity. Fireworks rarely happen in Ireland. It was Halloween night. I heard pops in the sky. My first reaction was, who's shooting?
Bombs.
Obviously, no one was shooting a gun. My neighbors were celebrating Samhain, the Irish tradition of Halloween. Come back for part 2. I have so much more to tell you. Bye.
Maybe we'll see that lady again in the next one, because this is part 3 of this series, and I'm assuming they have more, and we're going to continue to do them as long as they keep making these compilations, because they're awesome, they're fun, And it's eye-opening, guys. It really is.
So I started my new job in the Netherlands. This was 3 years ago, and I was going through the company policy the first.
Shout out to the Dutchies out there watching. I know you're there. Love you guys.
Job in the Netherlands. This was 3 years ago, and I was going through the company policy the first week. And I got to the section about leave, and they have a holiday leave, like PTO, and then they had sick leave in 2 different areas. And I was reading about sick leave, and I turned to my coworker, and I was like, I don't understand. Like, it talks about like the requirements for sick leave and like doctor notes like after 3 days, but how many sick days do we get a year? And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, how many are there? It doesn't say. She's like, it's just if you're sick, you're out. I'm like, I don't understand. She's like, it's unlimited. It's just if you're sick, you take a sick day. She was confused. I was shocked. There's a moment I realized in America and how we deal with people being sick with work.
Yeah. It's crazy because, like, yeah, here you'll get like a set amount of sick days. And it's like, well, what happens if I'm sick longer than that? Well, what happens is they fire you. They get somebody else in. That's pretty much it. I mean, you're just disposable to them. They don't care about your life. They don't care about your health. They don't care about anything except for their job, the company, and making that money. That's about it. Definitely hit like. It helps the YouTube algorithm and whatnot. It helps the channel grow, and it motivates me to keep on doing more videos like this. And I know, which videos you guys like and don't like and all that kind of stuff. And helps it spread to other people, and help me get to that 100,000 subscriber goal. So if you haven't subscribed, please do so now. It doesn't cost you a single bit of nothing, but just a second of your time, guys. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be checking out some TikTok compilation videos that I used to react to, and I think it's been like a year since I've done these, actually. This one here is First Time You Realized America Really Messed You Up, Part 4. So I've done, like I said, I've done the first 3 parts, and I think there's like 6 parts total. And the original channel that put it together is called TikTok Reacts. Links down below so you can check it out. Thanks for watching with me, guys. We're gonna watch it together. See what it's all about. These are great.
If you're an American currently living abroad, what is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up?
Okay, so unfortunately, I have more than one of these situations because America. But one that I know specifically that just happened to me recently, I was walking to my car. It was late at night. I was leaving the mall, and this guy was walking behind me, and I was just like, dun 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 dun. What does he want from me? And I like got in my car, and when he walked past, I locked the doors, and I was just like, wait a minute,
why?
You're not in North Carolina anymore. And it's so weird because I've been so comfortable here. Like, I've went inside of the store and left my car running because it's super hot in Abu Dhabi, and I'm like, let's leave the air going. But yeah, America has really made me scared to strangers, which, I mean, it probably should because the world is crazy. But yeah, not in the UAE. It's just not that way.
But the thing is like, why would you, it's like, I don't know where she came from, though. What city here in the United States? Because some of them are pretty sketchy. But to just run and get scared and, just because somebody's like walking, you know what I mean? It's just crazy. But again, maybe she was in a really rough neighborhood, really rough city. Apologies for these stupid flies, man. It's hot in here. Open up these windows. They come in here and just like hang out in my bedroom, I guess. But anyways, we're going to continue the video. When I was studying abroad in Japan, I got super sick one month. Oh, this one's going to be about the healthcare being super cheap over there, I bet.
Studying abroad in Japan, I got super sick one month, and my host family kept telling me to go to the doctor, and I kept refusing. And when they asked why, I said because I was scared they're going to send me to the hospital and leave me with this huge bill.
Yeah.
And then they quickly had to explain to me that that's not how it works, and if I actually needed to go to the hospital, I would not leave with a $6,000 bill just for IV fluids and ibuprofen.
So, as an
I mean, $6,000 just for IV fluids and ibuprofen. That's a stretch. It wouldn't even be that much here. It'd be at least $1,000, $1,200 though, which is insane. But yeah. Anyways,
American living in New Zealand for the last 2 years, I have definitely had a moment of clarity where I realized how the American healthcare system is.
Okay.
So I was watching this cooking show with my boyfriend, and the girl who wanted to win.
Kay's cooking.
She wanted to win because she had all these medical bills she needed to pay because she was in a hit and run. So she was hit, obviously, and like her legs got super up. But I was like, wait, why is she paying like $80,000 in medical bills because she got hit?
Yeah.
That makes no sense. So safe to say, I don't think I'll be moving back to the States anytime soon, especially since I broke my wrist here and it was completely free. Like, how does that work? America, get your shit together.
Yeah, I agree. And also, New Zealand's cool because that's where the hobbits are.
So, a few weeks after I moved to South Korea, I got pretty.
Although the real life hobbit was probably based on what they think was Homo floresiensis, which was in Indonesia. That's where they found that. Lord of the Rings story was based on old fables and myths, right? He didn't just make up these characters and dwarfs and all this kind of stuff. They're just from old time myths. And then afterwards, archaeologists found Homo, or what they named it Homo floresiensis or something, on some island in Indonesia, and they dubbed it as like the real life Hobbit, from like possibly where those old myths from hobbits and stuff came from. So, but anyways, off topic. Just thought I'd throw it in there. Random bits of information. Let's see what this person has to say about it.
Pretty sick. I got a pretty gnarly sinus infection, so my boss insisted on taking me to the doctor, even though I was like, no, it's fine. I don't need to go. I'll get better. And she took me to the doctor, and I have health insurance here in Korea. I have the National Health Insurance Plan. And at the end of my appointment, my boss said to me, oh, it's 5,000. So I heard her say 5,000. 5,000 won is about $5. But in my head, there was no way it could have only been 5,000. So I pulled a 50,000 won note out of my wallet, and I handed it to her. She tried to give it to the receptionist, and he was like, does she have anything smaller? Like, this is a big bill. And she was like, do you have anything smaller? And I was like, but it's 50. She was like, no, it's $5,000. And I was like, how can a doctor's appointment only be $5?
When my grandfather was...
Why would it not only be that, right? All right, when my grandfather was dying, we went to Scotland to see him one last time. Unfortunate about your grandfather. Sorry to hear about that.
Dying, we went to Scotland to go and see, him for one last time. And at one point, my grandfather had a prescription that needed picking up. So I pop out of the car, run into the pharmacy, and I've got my purse on me. I don't have very much money with me. I just didn't. And I went in, and I'm just like, okay, I'm here to pick up for my grandfather. This is his name. And I've got my passport out, ready to hand it to them, like to prove that I'm who I say I am. They're like, oh, yeah. How's John doing? Here you go. Here's his stuff. Hey, let him know.
Not so
that
good.
If he ever needs help with this, you can just call us. We'll send it on down to him. I said, thank you. And then I stood there, and they're like, why are you still here? I was like, but I need to pay. And they're like, no, you don't. He's old. Everything's free. I never felt more uncomfortable leaving a building than I did in that day. It was awful.
I'm a U.S.
Yeah, it would be an awkward situation, like not knowing the customs and stuff anyways, anywhere. I hate even just going in like a restaurant, even around here in my own country, and just not knowing what's on the other side of the door or how they do it there. Some restaurants, you go up and pay the thing. Some of them you pay there, you give them your card or your money, and then they take the booklet away and then bring it back. It's like all different. You never know. I hate not knowing. All right, Costa Rica. We have to be careful using the term Americans since the Americas are continents. Yes.
Citizen currently living in Costa Rica. We have to be careful about the use of the word American since the Americas are continents. Anyway, I have so many examples of how the U.S. me up, specifically Florida.
Florida.
We got to Costa Rica.
Sorry, but you've seen the news. Florida man's out there. He'll fuck up anybody. We got a Costa Rica the second week in November, obviously.
the second weekend in November. Obviously still deep in the throes in the US with COVID. And coming from Florida where there's so many anti-maskers and COVID deniers, it was surreal to go to these establishments here where everyone's following the Ministry of Health's rules. There's hand washing stations outside of every establishment. There are people taking your temperature to go into grocery stores and certain restaurants. People are giving you distance. Everyone is compliant with masks. And I found myself so defensively postured, ready to argue because I had gotten into so many arguments in Florida with anti-maskers and COVID deniers. It's amazing when people don't politicize a virus.
Since I don't currently live.
I doubt everybody was all about the rules, and I don't know how it is in Costa Rica, but some countries and stuff like that, you kind of like almost have to follow the rules more so, even if you disagree with them, because maybe the punishment's a little bit more harsh or something. I don't know. But there was definitely going to be people there in Costa Rica also that weren't about the mask. They're just not out there telling you about it. You were in the touristy locations and, well, no, you live there maybe. I don't know. Did she live there? I don't know what she said. But anyways, regardless.
Abroad, but I grew up abroad and I have so many. The first one is Common Core math. This one didn't mess me up as much when I was living abroad as much as it did when I moved back. Because believe it or not, when I was growing up, I was taught to understand the inner workings of the math. Like, I understood the math. I understood what was happening in the equations. I knew what they meant. But when I came back, the people that were getting A's on tests, like doing the best in math, had no understanding of what was actually happening in the math. I remember having like right answers, and I would be getting marked down because I wasn't using the Common Core math. And then when I tried to use the Common Core math, I didn't know how to do it because it was just steps, and I didn't understand what was going on in the math, and I wouldn't do well. Like, oh my god.
So I live in Paris.
So I don't know what the exact definition, like what is Common Core math or whatever. I know that I was taught math when I was in school. I don't know if what I was taught was Common Core math or what you would call it or whatever, but I mean, I guess, it is weird that different places do math differently and how, but if the end result is the same thing, then I guess that's all that really matters. But I do know that they do math differently in other countries, and it's kind of strange. I don't know how they do it there. Like, I'm not familiar with the actual steps and all that stuff.
And 2 months ago, I got hit by a taxi relatively hard.
Jeez.
I fell down on the street. All these people came. They picked me up. They brought me over to a bench. Someone from a restaurant brought me a glass of water. Another woman gave me a handful of coins. And I was like, I don't need your money. It's okay. And she was like, sweetheart, this is your money. It fell out of your pockets when you got hit by the taxi.
Jeez.
And I was like, Sonic the Hedgehog vibes. Great. The man who hits me goes to call the ambulance. And I said, stop. Do not call the ambulance. That will cost me $3,000 to $5,000 because that's what an ambulance costs in America.
Yeah.
And he was like, what are you talking about? An ambulance is €7.
First of all, what are you talking about, lady? We ain't in America here. We're in, I don't know what country because I missed it, but maybe she didn't say. I don't know. But regardless, we ain't there. We're here. Did she say €7? That's nuts. That's cheap.
I was like, oh my God. Remind me to twist my ankle on the way home from the club, and they'll give me an IV so I won't be hungover the next day? Catch me at the hospital. This is lit.
Okay, well, that was a stupid joke, whatever. You should have said whatever. All that crap at the end after I unpaused it. Just made yourself look dumb. Trashy. Honestly. Anyways, let's continue.
This, but kind of the opposite. I'm an American who was born abroad and then moved to America. I moved when I was 8, and I went from a really nice school to an American public school. And on the very first day, I came in with a snowsuit in one hand and a pair of slippers in my other hand. I was like, where do I put this down? They looked at me like, no, you don't need a snowsuit for class. What? We lived in Sweden, so if you were going to go to recess, there was a fair chance that you might need a snowsuit sometime. So I was embarrassed, my mom took it back, and then I heard a ding 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 above the speakers. When I tell you I was not prepared for 20 to 30 8-year-olds to stand up in unison, place their hands over their heart, and start chanting together. I don't think I can explain how weird that was. And then, nobody taught me the Pledge of Allegiance. From then on out, they just assumed I knew it. And that's just American arrogance for you.
Just move your mouth and mumble along if you don't know it, I guess. Yeah. Pledge of Allegiance. The whole thing, guys.
So I live in Stockholm, Sweden, but I'm from Nashville, and I used to have the best job ever in Nashville, but I was always paranoid about getting fired for no reason, because that happened to a lot of people at my company. People get fired and no one would say why. Like, they would just drop in the group chat and be like, this person's not with us anymore, and we'd be like, okay. So when I was applying for jobs in
Was it for no reason though? I mean, is all your friends slackers? Are they not doing their job? Perhaps.
Sweden, I would like tell the employer, I'd be like, oh, job security is really important to me because I don't want to just like show up one day and find out that I'm fired. They were like, what are you talking about? Like, that's illegal. I was like, huh? And long story short, it's like completely impossible to fire someone like in Sweden. The company has to prove that you either killed somebody or that like employing you will make them bankrupt. It's like so much work to try and fire somebody. But you can quit whenever you want, depending on your contract. But
Good
yeah,
job.
all my employers were like shocked to hear that I could get fired tomorrow and they didn't have to tell me why. Thanks, Sweden.
Well, if you do your job right and you're a good employee, you probably don't have to really worry about that now, do you, lady? Not accusing her of being, and if you're watching, hey, maybe you were the best worker there. You're not lazy at all. Not accusing you of being lazy at all. But if you're always worried about your job and worried that you're going to show up and they're going to fire you, then maybe subconsciously, deep down, you know, maybe you're not doing your best to the best of your ability, right? I don't know.
Chose to do this even though I'm a Canadian and we have free healthcare, but the reason I'm doing it is because everyone talks about healthcare with this stitch, and guess what? I'm in Greece. I'm in Europe. Okay, so 2015, I'm in Europe. I've got bilateral.
Close enough. So the thing with Canadians are like, they're similar to us, right? There's a lot of things that they share in common with us, but a lot of things are different that they share more in common with Europe. So like Canada, I think sits in between, like a lot of the stuff that they do there is in between like the way Europe does it and the way that we do it here in the United States, I believe. But as far as like the way people act and stuff and this and that, I think it's maybe it's probably also a mix. Yeah, I'd say it's a pretty mixed country, between like a mix between European style stuff and United States kind of stuff. I don't know. I've never been to Canada though, but
Pneumonia, both lungs full. 2 months in, I'm seeing no signs it's getting better. I can't breathe. I can't even walk 10 steps. I'm out of breath. I'm like, can't do any. Finally, it's life or death. I mean, I gotta go to the hospital. I gotta bite the bullet. Whatever they're gonna charge me in Greece, I gotta pay it. So I show up at the hospital. They put me on this ventilator thing. They got my airways opened up. They did x-rays. I still got the x-rays.
But
they did blood work. They did everything. They told me what I had. They gave me 3 different types of meds. And when I go to leave, you know how much they charge me? €5. It's about $6 American. What?
I thought he just said he was from Canada though. Like, I thought Canada has universal health care as well. So I don't understand. And he even said he had free health care, right? He's like, I'm not supposed to do this because I'm from Canada. But like, I have free health care and everybody talks about health care. And I'm in Greece right now, right? I don't know. Maybe I missed something. If I did, let me know down below, because I certainly miss things a lot.
So
Last
about
one,
a
I
year
think.
ago, I ended up going to the emergency room here in the US because I had really bad asthma and I felt like I couldn't breathe.
That's sad.
And all they told me to do at the emergency room was to take some allergy pills. Some that I already had at home, and then they just sent me home.
Yeah.
And it ended up being $2,000, including insurance.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, and how much? I was getting ready, like that's what I was thinking in my head, like, and how much was the price? Because they will, they'll, and I've been to the doctor before. That's why, like, most of the time I don't go, because it's like it's pretty stupid, you know. Most of the time, if I have something wrong, you know, I don't like to take medicine normally. Anyways, I like to use that as like a last resort, because you know medicine's not good for your liver and stuff. It's not good for your body, whatever, right? But, you know, if it's been a couple, 2, 3 days, then I'll resort to taking some medicine. And then if it gets to the point where I'm like, I need to go to the doctor, I will. But then you get to the doctor, the hospital, rather, right? And then they just tell you, you sit there forever. They don't really do much. They come in, talk to you. They look at you, take like your temperature, do some basic stuff to make it look like they're doing something, you know, take your blood pressure, whatever, right? They'll leave. You sit there for like another hour, another 2 hours. It seems, I don't even know. And then they just like, they come back. Or like the nurse comes back and then basically like, okay, well, we're just gonna recommend you to like do this, do that, do that. And it's the same things that you've already done and tried before. You went there, you know, oh, well, take Tylenol or oh, take some aspirin, get plenty of rest, and then they send you on your way. They've done nothing. They've really done nothing. Like you just sat in a room for a couple hours. They came and talked to you for a little bit, and they basically told you to do the same thing that you already tried to do before you went there. And then, yeah, they'll turn around and they charge you a bunch of money. Like, the heck is that about? Yeah.
Back up to 2 years ago, I was in China and I had to go to the emergency room for the exact same thing. And I was like, thank God I got the study abroad health insurance, because I'm going to the emergency room right now and I'm really afraid how much it's going to be. Okay. Ended up going to the emergency room, and in the end, I paid $4 without the insurance.
$4.
Didn't even need it.
Nice.
It was $4.
Why is she saying 4 weird? Was she saying 4 weird? $4. All right, guys, that was a fun video. That was part 4. They have part 5 and part 6, so we're going to be doing those soon. Hey, welcome back to the channel, guys. We're going to be checking out part 5 of the first time you realized America really messed you up. TikTok compilation videos. There's 6 parts of this total. So links down below so you can go click like on it. And the original channel is TikTok Reacts that is hosting this. So thanks for watching, guys. Let's check it out. These are always good. They're funny.
Time that made you realize that America really messed you up.
I have so many of these. So I currently live in London with my now husband, and when we were dating and I would come visit him because we were doing the whole long distance thing, you know, every time I would come, I would lose at least 5 pounds. Without a doubt, it happened every single time. And I truly think it's just because the food over here is required to be better for you. Because I was not watching what I ate. We would eat desserts all the time. We were doing the touristy things, so we eat out a lot. And on top of that, I don't exercise when I'm over here. And I also am not walking around because I use my wheelchair. So yeah, it's literally just because there's better food laws here in the United Kingdom instead of in the United States.
So that's interesting, because a lot of people do say, you know, because it's like, a lot of people say like, well, I'm eating more because I'm on vacation, right? I'm trying all these new foods. So I'm eating more than I would, you know, back home in America and still losing weight. And a lot of people's counter argument is, which of course, clearly there's no disagreement. We all know the food in Europe is better, right? Great Britain, for instance, in her case. But a lot of people say, well, but you are eating more, even if it's better, this and that, you're not losing weight just because of the food. They say, oh, but because you're walking around doing all these touristy things, you're exercising more than normal. She's not. She's in a wheelchair. So literally the only difference for her is the actual food. And she's eating more because she's going to touristy places and stuff like that, trying all these different foods. So that really does go to show you, like, you know, the actual difference in food quality. Interesting. That's why I like watching these videos, guys.
So there you go. That's my story.
That's her story.
So we live in Ireland, and our oldest is in senior infants, which is the equivalent of the second half of kindergarten. She did kindergarten back in the States. And she came home from school one day and she said, Mommy, we had a drill today. And I went, oh, active shooter drill? No. Bomb threat? No. Mommy, it was a fire drill. Well, oh, okay. I mean, back home, she had active shooter drills every month in kindergarten. We get these phone calls, and it'd say, oh, in accordance with Florida law, blah, 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 everything's gone back to normal. And I'm just sitting there thinking of my kid hiding in a bathroom
with 30 other kindergartners and her poor teacher trying to keep all these kids quiet. I'm like, that's not normal here. That's something we got used to because that's what America is.
Yeah,
it's just one
sad.
big active shooter drill.
Sad. My son's actually in kindergarten. He was actually he loves coming home telling us everything. You know, he's proud of what he done today at school, you know, this and that. He was proud that and he's only been there a handful of maybe a month, you know. Super super excited to come home and tell us that he did his first fire drill, that he learned what to do if there was a fire. It was just awesome. He hasn't had no active shooter drill or anything like that I know of. But yeah.
Hey y'all, I am an American expat
Hey,
currently
y'all.
living in Kuwait. It is one of the countries in the Middle East region.
It's a desert out there.
Living here, I had to overcome a lot of trauma from my home country. As you can see, I am black. And being black in America, you're usually followed around stores to make sure you're not stealing. No one offers you help. No one offers you guidance. They just try to make sure you're not stealing because clearly that's what all black people do. Here, people...
It's because there's a lot of racist people in this country. Yeah, you don't have to worry about the racism so much in other places. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not there. Of course, you're going to have that, but I don't think it's quite as intense as it is here in the United States.
People follow you around the stores. However, it's because of the luxury of it all. I mean, they're following you around the stores holding your carts. They're placing things on the shelf. They're helping you get items. They're helping you try on things.
Nice.
And that was one of the traumas I had to overcome living here, that they don't think I'm a criminal. They just want me to be an actual customer.
Nice. Well, maybe you're not. I mean, you're just a regular person. There's no reason for people to just assume that you are a criminal just because of your skin color. That is absolutely racist. But again, like I said, not everybody's like that here. You know, it's just certain people are racist. Certain people have that attitude towards a black person when they go in the store, and it just it just sucks. It is an unfortunate thing that happens.
I was in Tallinn, Estonia, and I had like this really bad feeling in my chest. I was in Tallinn.
Me to be an actual customer.
Oh, I got this one. So, I was in Tallinn, Estonia, and I had like this really bad feeling in my chest. I felt terrible, and I thought I was having a panic attack, but I wasn't totally sure. So I went downstairs to the front desk. The hospital called an ambulance. The ambulance came. They did a bunch of tests, gave me some medicine, calmed me down, and did a whole bunch of stuff. It was all done in the ambulance, and then when we were done, they gave me some medicine to go, and they were like, okay, go rest. And then I was like, okay. But what do I owe you? Like, I live in Finland, what do I owe you? And they were like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, how do I pay for this? And they were like, oh.
I thought she said she was in Estonia. Okay, so she's an American that lives in Finland, then traveled to Estonia and was getting sick in Estonia, I believe. Okay, and her eyes are all over the place. I don't know what's up with her eyes, but they just seem like they're moving more than they should or something. I don't know.
Like, oh no, this is free. And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, no, this is free. Don't worry. And then I felt really guilty for everything.
Maybe it's a medical thing. You know, she said she wasn't feeling very well and this and that. It could be like I know certain head traumas or like brain issues could cause like your eyes to kind of move sporadically like that. I don't really know, but it just seemed like her eyes were all over the place. And also, I've heard that like the free health stuff was, maybe it's because is it all part of the European Union? Maybe that's, I don't know. I thought it was every individual country was different and only citizens got the free healthcare, but it wasn't really free. It's factored in with the taxes and everything that you actually pay. So I don't know about that one. Let me know.
9 months before I moved to Ireland, I was there on a vacation, and the person I was with, we had a car, and we stayed at a golf resort kind of in the middle of nowhere because it was the off season, so it was actually really affordable. There was a gated front entrance to this golf resort, and there was a small little village on the other side of it. And because we were pretty far back in the property and it was January, so the weather was kind of crappy, we often would drive if we needed to run to the store for anything or to a restaurant. We became friends with the front gate attendant because we were in and out all the time. So one day we're driving to go to dinner, and I had asked him, hey, what's the legal limit for like drinking and driving here? I wasn't planning to do anything stupid, but I'm also a public health major, and knowing that Ireland is known for its drinking culture, I was curious, so I thought I'd ask.
Okay.
The guy looked at me completely dumbfounded. He's like, what? So I clarified the amount of alcohol you can have in your system and still legally drive. And he says, none?
So my mother was...
Makes sense. You shouldn't have anything in your system and drive, right? Like, that makes sense. She was probably assuming because a bunch of Irish people have, it's stereotypical that they drink a lot, that they're just out there drinking and driving. But no, some people have common sense.
Still legally drive. And he says, none?
So my mother was a registered nurse. She was working at 2 separate hospitals. Both of those positions were full-time. She was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. She had 3 children and had to work those 2 full-time jobs for several years because she needed the health benefits, because she couldn't afford her chemotherapy. So while she was going through chemo, radiation, all kinds of other treatments, because her cancer was pretty advanced and there were still some clinical trials for things. So while she was going through all of that, she still had to work about 72 hours each week.
That sucks.
We moved to Canada shortly after she passed away, and after my father was left with over $50,000 of medical bills, and moved to Canada. Everything's free. Healthcare, just free. They just
included.
Give it to you to live.
It's included with your taxes, I believe. Yeah. And that's why a lot of times, you know, it's like, that's the kind of stuff that I want for this country. And that's the kind of stuff that's like more of like a left-leaning idea. But again, you know, I want to let everybody know I'm not like, I don't know, you know, what, I'm not one way, the other way, this and that. You know, there's ideas from both sides that I like. So I don't know, whatever that. Maybe I should just be my own political party. How about that?
Okay, so I live in England now, but I do this thing where every time I enter a building, I like analyze like, okay, if someone comes in with a gun, where can I hide? Where can I run? What are my emergency exits? What are my chances of getting shot?
Every time.
So I think, okay, if he enters through this door, I'm probably gonna get shot. If he enters through that door, I probably won't get shot because of the angle, and I try to like, you know, work it out all in my head.
That's crazy that people act. I mean, I guess if you've been conditioned that way, you know, if you've lived in big cities that have that kind of violence. I live in a pretty rural area. I don't have to worry about all the shootings, gun violence, stuff like that. So I guess if I lived in a city that dealt with that, maybe, but I still don't think that I would go in every single public situation and instantly be thinking like that. You know, like I have a pretty good, like I can think on my feet. So if something happened in the moment, I feel like I could figure out what to do, but I'm not going to pre-plan what I'm doing ahead of time just in case there might be like a shooter around. That just seems a little paranoid. But again, maybe this person's from an area like, you know, Chicago or New York that has a lot of shootings. It's hard to tell.
And so one time I was on a date with this guy and we were at a bar and I was kind of like looking around like, okay, like maybe I can hide here, maybe I can hide here, just kind of like analyzing the area. And
But also with the person being gay, there's also that extra layer of fear because there's a lot of crazy psychos out there that actively go out and try to attack, you know, people that's gay and stuff because of their beliefs being different, you know what I mean? So I guess, you know, being a person that's gay and maybe being from a city where there's already gun crime and stuff, you know, maybe there's a lot of gun crime towards the gay people. So maybe he's got that extra layer of fear to worry about as well that you wouldn't have to necessarily worry about in, I believe he said he's in the UK, right? I don't know for sure, but yeah.
yeah, and he's like, why are you looking around? Like, you look crazy. You're drawing attention to us. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? And I was going to say, oh, I'm just looking for an emergency exit or a place to hide in case someone comes in with a gun. And then I realized gun crime isn't really a thing here. So, yeah.
I think he said he was in the UK. So over there, mainly you got to worry about somebody like stabbing you, I think. So I think that's like the main thing that they have issues with there. I don't know for sure. I don't really follow the UK news or whatever, but
Such a great question. I have so many.
So many.
The one that sticks out of my mind right now is the first time I celebrated the 4th of July, and the Kiwis were like, oh, happy 4th of July. And I'm like, yeah, suckers. We broke away from the Queen a long time ago, and we have freedom, and blah, blah, blah. And they were like, hold on.
Everybody has freedom.
What freedoms don't we have? And why is it bad that other countries work together to protect each other and help each other? And America's always talking about freedom, and what freedoms do you have that we don't have? And I was like, hold up. All this rhetoric that I was told my whole life, the land of the free, we need to fight.
Exactly. Rhetoric. It's propaganda. Rhetoric, is it? Yeah, I don't know.
Fight for our freedom, and it's such a value in the American society. And when you think about how many countries are just as free, where does this freedom value come from?
Yep.
I mean, it came back from the Revolutionary War, but hello, there's a lot of countries that are free. It was eye-opening.
Propaganda.
So I'm an American who's currently living in Canada, and in 2019, I was working on
Canada's technically still America, right? Like, it's part of North America, but still.
On a film set, and we were breaking for lunch, and I promise this isn't a joke setup, but it was an American, a Canadian, a New Zealander, and an Australian were all waiting and having lunch together.
It straight up sounds like she's about to tell a joke. But, right?
Together. And a truck backfires. Thinking it was a gunshot, I immediately hop underneath the table and, like, am looking around before I realize what it was.
Yeah.
And as I slowly get up, everybody's like, what? Why is she? And the Australian goes, you're an American. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in about 2012, 2013.
A lot of Americans, when they travel abroad, they tell people they're from Canada because Canadians get less hate. She should have, yeah. But see, then again, if you tell people you're Canadian, then you turn around and act like that, then they're like, oh, you're lying. You're really from America, which I guess Canada's technically part of America, North America continent, but
13, I lived in the Netherlands and I was learning Dutch.
So
when I watched the news with Dutch.
Hold on. Since she was 13, is that what she said?
Yeah.
So in about 2012, 2013, I lived in the Netherlands and I was learning Dutch. So when I watched the news with the Dutch subtitles, my host mom would explain to me what was going on. And I saw this priest and apparently he had been stabbed. And I'm like, oh, why is he on the news? He's been stabbed, but he's still alive. And she was talking about, how it was a big thing because priests don't typically get stabbed, blah, blah, blah. But I'm still wondering, what's the big deal? And then she's like, well, Sarah, you're from America, you have guns. And I'm like, well, yeah, we have guns. And she's like, well, over here we don't have guns. So this is big news because this guy was stabbed. And I'm still sitting there like he's still alive. And that's when I realized we're a bit up.
She's half drunk.
Because I was questioning why a priest being stabbed was news.
If he was dead, how would he be on the news?
I wasn't drunk at the time, but good point.
Okay, so I came up to Ontario a few years ago for school after already getting...
I guess I see her point because there's so much crazy that happens here. It's like normally it's always somebody that died. So normally I guess they don't waste the airwaves on somebody that didn't because there's so many people that did that they're talking about, I guess. I don't know for sure. I don't know.
Already getting my bachelor's in the States. And me and my office mate were sitting there going through our bills because they had just come out and our research fellowships were being applied. And I was like, oh, look, wow, this is really cheap. And she looks at me and she's like, what are you talking about? Especially yours. Yours is several grand more than mine just because you're international. I was so used to paying so much for university in the States that I thought Canadian tuition was cheap.
Compared
when
to...
really it's not. So, yeah.
So it's expensive, but compared to where she's from in the United States, of course, it seemed cheaper. But it's still expensive in the world scale.
Yeah. Thanks, America.
Okay, so I've got this one. So I went to South India in 2013 for a school trip, and we all ate at a restaurant, and most of us got food.
So I was watching Who is the Mole? Don't spoil. I'm not all the way through, but the last season, I'm like 5 episodes in probably. She looks like one of the Dutch girls that's on the Who is the Mole. It's not. She's obviously not her, but looks very similar. If you know who I'm talking about, let me know who, let me know down below. Let us all know. But yeah, if you agree, disagree, whatever.
Got food poisoning and ended up getting really, really sick. Couldn't keep anything down. Vomiting, diarrhea, the whole works. There were 2 of us, me and another kid, that were really not doing hot. We were getting really dehydrated, and so they ended up sending us to a hospital. We took a tuk-tuk and went to the emergency room. I ended up getting 2 IV bags and spending a few hours there. And at the end, when they told me how much it was going to be when I left, they told me $9. Being American, I was like, hold up. Did he mean 900, 9,000?
Yeah, they would probably charge you 900 here. She's not joking. For a couple IV bags, and you sat there for an hour or two, talked to the nurse, filled out a little thing on a clipboard. Yeah, I don't know why. I never understood it. It's insane to me. Absolutely insane to me. But they would absolutely charge $900 for that here. It's craziness. Pure craziness.
9,000, right? No, $9.
That's
$9
crazy.
for medication, IV, emergency, everything.
Yeah, that's crazy. You guys are amazing. You're awesome. So of course you're gonna hit like and subscribe on the video. When's the first time you realized America really messed you up? As an American living abroad or traveling abroad, I believe is the question. That is by the channel TikTok Reacts. That's the video we're gonna be checking out today. And links down below for that. This part 6 of a 6-part situation. So they usually talk about healthcare, culture shocks, basically education. A lot of it's healthcare, really, or like when they go to the grocery store and they realize like you don't have to pay extra tax; it's already included. Like basic stuff like that, or like violence. They don't have to worry about violence in Europe as much. Culture shocks, always good, always funny. Let's watch it. Thanks for watching with me, and like and subscribe.
If you're an American currently living abroad, what is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up?
I got one. I moved to Italy about a month ago, and my roommate is from Spain, and we were talking about things to do outside since the weather was getting nicer, like rent bikes, take walks, and she said we should have a shooting. And I said, a what? She said, a shooting. Like, let's go have a shooting. I was like,
what is that? What do you mean?
And she was like, yeah, like, let's go get dressed up and take some cute pictures by, like, the canals or something.
Yep.
Pictures.
In the US, I could not let my 11-year-old son go outside and play by himself. Someone would call the cops or something would legitimately happen to him, and so there was no way.
Why? Why was somebody calling the cops on your kid? They got some Karens for neighbors, I guess.
Way. And when I moved to Germany, my husband, who's a German national, suggested that he go outside and play by himself because we would not have to worry.
I'm not living abroad anymore, but I was.
And that's it. It's just short, sweet, simple. That's it. All right, what's this lady saying?
We would not have to worry.
I'm not living abroad anymore, but I was from 2010 to 2011. I was living in Uppsala, Sweden, which is like about 45 minutes north of Stockholm.
Okay.
And this was before any major civil unrest was happening in the country or Trump or anything. This was like 10 years ago. I was out with friends and we started talking about how this Swedish girl happened to have cancer and how it's completely taken care of by their government. All of her health care, all of her bills are paid for. The odds are that she will definitely get over cancer. So I go.
I mean, I don't know that she'll, necessarily get over it. That's always, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. My grandpa passed away from cancer, so, they don't always make it. But hopefully this lady's grandma or whoever it was, hopefully that they made it. But anyways, it's included with taxes, I believe. It's not necessarily free. So, like, I think it's included with taxes. So, like, but I don't know how that works. If you don't pay taxes, like, say you're unemployed or something, right? Do you not get the health care, or do you still get it paid by what the just collective taxes? I don't know.
I go up to my two friends, one from Australia, one from Canada, and I say, oh my God, you guys, did you hear she has cancer? And the government's completely taking care of all of her bills. Isn't that amazing? Like, oh my God. And then my friends replied, Sabrin, you realize that you are the weird ones. Americans are the only ones that don't have that program.
Yeah.
That was the first of many moments where I was embarrassed to be an American.
It's not current, but when I was studying in the
She said first of many moments. So there was more. It'd be fun to learn about the rest of them, right?
in the UK, one day I really needed to see a doctor, but I didn't know how to access care. I didn't know what my insurance situation was like, so I just went to work. And eventually I was in so much pain that I burst into tears, and my boss pulled me aside. And he was like, "What's up?" And I was like, "I really need to see a doctor, but I don't know how to access care here. I don't know if I can afford it." And he was like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Go down the street to the hospital." And I argued with him, and he was like, "No, just trust me. Just go to the hospital." So I went, and I was like clutching my like student ID in my hand, my passport, and I was like trying to remember how much I had in my bank account, like checking. And I got called back to the doctor. He was like, "Yep, this is what's wrong with you. Pick up your prescription on the way out." And I was like, "I'm sorry, do you know how much it's going to be?" And he said, "I don't know, maybe £8." I was like, "I'm sorry, 8?" He was like, "Yeah, I don't think it's ever more than that." The receptionist kept laughing at me because I didn't feel comfortable leaving without paying somebody. And I kept asking and asking if I owed anybody any money.
So I don't live in Europe. I was visiting relatives.
But that's the thing. If they tell you you're good, I mean, I get it. You know, it's weird. It's awkward. Like, wait a minute, this isn't what I'm used to. But if they say you're good, you're good. You don't have to keep asking again, because then you just seem like you don't listen. Especially if you're in another country. If you're in another country, then you already should know things are going to be strange and different than what you're used to. So if you've already been over it and they've already said, you know, you're good, just take it at that and you're good, and chalk it up as just that's definitely one of those differences. You know what I mean?
Relatives in the UK a couple of years ago, and my inhaler got destroyed. They convinced me to talk to the pharmacist first before seeing a doctor in case I didn't need to. And the pharmacist said, "Yes, of course, we can refill this for you. No problem. It's a life-saving medication." And I'm like, "Great." And the pharmacist says, "I did want to warn you though, I'm very sorry. The price has gone up." And I'm just thinking the worst. And he says, "Yes, I'm very sorry. It's going to be £8.80. I said, £8.80. And he said, "Yeah."
Okay, yeah, so the tax thing. So it must just be for everybody then, because this is for somebody that's visiting somebody in the UK and everything, and it still applies to them. So yeah.
I said, "Yeah, it's going to be £8.80. I'm really sorry. The prices just keep going up." And that is when I realized that the U.S. health insurance system is well and truly because that £8.80 prescription in the UK with really good health insurance costs me $50 per inhaler in the United States for a medication I need to literally live.
Yeah, it's sad.
So yeah.
I don't understand it. It's just, you know, and sometimes it's like the medicine's made here in the United States and they'll charge like an insane amount of money. But like in another country, it's cheaper, even though it's made here. Like it's just crazy. Like they just jack up the prices.
Buckle up, kids. This one's gonna hurt. So I just moved to Italy with my boyfriend who is Italian. Going through all of his old paperwork today, and he showed me a bill from the hospital when he cut his hand open pretty badly and had to get stitches. It cost €4, which is the equivalent of $4.50. I am back for round 2 on this
I bet he makes good pizza too. He's Italian, and some good pasta.
one. So I just moved to Italy with my boyfriend who is Italian. We're watching a movie the other day where somebody is running away and they get shot. And I'm like, you know what? That's their fault. They didn't run in a zigzag. That's like the first thing they teach you, to run in a zigzag if somebody's pointing a gun at you. He pauses the movie and he looks at me and he goes, "Who taught you that?" And I'm like, you know, like teachers, adults, parents, like they teach you when you're young to run in a zigzag if somebody is pointing a gun at you. The sinking feeling I had when I realized that nobody ever had to teach him that when he was young.
Yeah.
Because that's not a problem here.
So another thing that I think about a lot is I have German friends, Dutch friends, Polish friends, and they all went on class trips to concentration camps when they were like 8 years old. Whereas in the US, I never learned anything about the Native Americans like what really happened until I took a Native American studies class in college. They are sitting there learning about, and they like use the word genocide. They tell them we committed genocide against the Jews here in Europe. And in the US, they're like, natives helped us move onto their land and they just kind of moved away so we could settle. And they don't teach us anything about the Dawes Act. They don't teach us anything about the Stolen Sisters. They don't teach us anything about how Columbus wiped out an entire island in the Caribbean. And like, they don't teach us about the smallpox blankets and the cholera and everything at all.
So I'm from Chicago.
Yeah, he's got a point. Like, the United States basically, I mean, wiped out an entire, like, stole land and wiped out an entire, like, culture and civilization, bunch of civilizations of people here. Like, it's very tragic, and the way that they do bury it, like he's saying, is just, it's just unfortunate. It's just really unfortunate.
Chicago, and I moved to Denmark when I was like 14, and I've been in public school ever since I moved here. And I remember this one time I was with my friends, and this was probably like the first 6 months of my first year at school here. And I was just like, we haven't had an intruder drill yet. Like, when are we going to have one of those? And they were just like, what is an intruder drill? What is that? And I had to like explain, like, you know, it's like you're practicing in case someone comes in the school to come like shoot or something. And they're just like, we do not do that here. There is no threat of people coming to kill us. And then I was like, oh yeah, I don't have to be like scared for my life at school in this country. Forgot about that.
I was living abroad in the UK and I had a job interview. And of course, growing up in the US, you're conditioned to dress so professional, be prepared, have your resume, and all these things. So I was like that really much. And I remember walking into the interview and they were like, oh, well, you look really snazzy. And I was like, okay, that first of all, I've never heard that before at an interview. Then secondly, they didn't even ask me anything besides, hey, Kyle, would you like a cup of tea? And I was like, okay. Never was asked that before ever in any other job interviews. We had a tea and we literally like sat and talked about all sorts of stuff, personal life, their life, and we just had a laugh for like 45 minutes.
Nice.
And right afterwards, they're like, you're perfect for the job. You fit great. And it was really crazy to me, and it was a really fun experience. I wish the U.S. would just chill out sometimes a little bit more.
You know, the thing with that is like, most jobs is like what he said. You know, here you go in and it's just in an office setting. Everything's cold. There's nothing, you know, not cold temperature wise, but like just the interaction, right? Just go in, interview, straight to the point, out the door, right? No offering of coffee, no. You know, sometimes the person would be nice, you know, and you kind of have a little bit of a laugh here and there and a little bit of a chit chat for a couple minutes. But then it's just back to business of the job interview. But it's not like that everywhere. I would say that's mostly factories and stuff because I've done construction jobs in the past and or drywall jobs and stuff, and it would be like what he's saying, you know. You just go and hang out with the person, talk to him for a few, get to know him, kind of laugh, chuckle, drink some coffee, whatever, and you know. So I would just it just depends on the workforce, the industry or type of work, I guess.
A little bit more.
All right, so when I lived in France, I went to a cafe with my friend, and outside the cafe there were a whole bunch of baby strollers with human babies inside of the strollers, and I was super freaked out, and I asked my friend, why would
They do that in Sweden too.
anybody leave their babies outside unattended in their strollers? Aren't you
'Cause it's
afraid of
safe.
something happening to them? And my friend looked at me and said, why would you assume that anything would happen to a baby? Who would be so horrible to do something to a baby?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's true. Like, who would be that horrible? But unfortunately, in this country of the United States, there are those people. So being from this country, knowing all that stuff, having the fear crammed down your throat too, I understand her viewpoint, but also it's like it shouldn't be like that. It should be like it is in Europe. It should be safe enough to have your child out in the stroller taking a nap while you're running into the store. There should be no reason to have a problem with that.
I live in Warsaw, Poland now, but I always stay in touch with what's happening in the US, and I happened to hear about that Las Vegas shooting when someone opened fire on a bunch of concert goers. And it was very tragic news. But that day, I also went to the movies, so I was already in a kind of weird mental state. And when I left the movies, I got on the tram again in Warsaw, and I saw this guy kind of being sketchy and acting weird in the last seat. And I kept eyeing him the whole time, and he had his jacket open and he was holding something inside. He was hiding it. And I thought, my first American thought was it's a gun or a knife or some kind of weapon, and I need to move away as soon as possible. So I kept looking at him the whole ride, and then he takes it out, and it was a beer can. He was sipping it and hiding it during the tram ride. That's what happens in Poland. Not guns, not knives. And I started crying and laughing at the same time because that's when I realized, wow, that's messed up.
Crying and laughing at the same time, though, that might be a little psychotic or something. I don't know.
I duetted this TikTok about a year ago, and I still stand by the fact that, like, we're significantly dumber in the States. School's a lot different here, but they learn so much more about life and things around us than we ever did. But another thing that I've noticed is people are so dependent in the States, especially, like, parents, I think, are more dependent and, like, feel the need to be in their child's lives more. Here, I'm sure they're great parents. I mean, 90% of the kids are super good, but, like, fourth graders are getting on the tram in the morning. Their parents are kissing them bye, saying peace out. Not the school bus, the tram. And you know what? At night, they get back on the tram and they figure out their way home. Like, the parents are not as, like, involved in the kids' lives, and they're so independent. But even, like, at home in the States, even me, who's almost 20 years old, like, I'm still dependent on my mom.
Okay, so I moved to...
That's funny. I love my son. I love being involved in his life. He's 5, though. You know, we walk him out to the front of to the end of the drive at the front yard to meet the school bus and everything, and give him a hug before he goes on the bus. I'm rambling. I'm gonna go back to the video, but
to Sweden. And when I got here, I wasn't feeling too well, so I went to the doctor, and the doctor recommended that I get an EKG, an electrocardiogram. Now, instead of worrying about my health, my first reaction was, I'm sorry, I don't know if I can get one of those because I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford it.
yeah.
And this sweet little man, this sweet, amazing doctor goes, did you not pay the, like, $20 when you got here? I ended up getting a regular EKG, a 24-hour long EKG, a blood test, and a freaking checkup for $20! Best part of this entire situation is that I am getting better, and I am getting the medical attention I need without going broke!
So speaking of that, not making it up, I've been having chest pains. I mean, people have weird issues and stuff, and it's like, I don't have insurance. You know, it's like during the video, even a few different times, having some weird chest pains, and it's just kind of like, it makes you worry. Makes you worry. I'm gonna go take a couple aspirin, get some more coffee because I'm super thirsty. But yeah, it just sucks that the health thing. That's usually like the biggest thing, the main thing it seems is the health, the healthcare differences between the United States and the rest of the world or whatever. But anyways, do me a super huge favor, guys. Hit like on this video. YouTube's being weird lately. People's videos aren't getting viewed right or as much as it should be and everything. It's like a whole weird thing that's going on. But anyways, just do me a favor, hit like. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys. You guys are amazing. Have a super fun, awesome day. And I will catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye.